They locked me out of my dad's will. My stepmother, Vivian, slammed the door in my face, her smile cold as ice, thinking she'd won. But Dad, he was always 3 steps ahead. When I laid those hidden property deeds on the table, oh, the look on her face was pure gold. This isn't just about money. It's about fighting for what's right. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. Hit that like button. And subscribe for more epic tales of justice, ready for a wild family drama. Let's dive in. The rain was relentless that morning in San Francisco. I was in my corner office, finalizing a deal for a sustainable housing project, when my phone buzzed, a number I hadn't seen in years. My childhood friend Sarah's voice cracked through the line. "Emma, your dad passed last night." My heart stopped. 5 years. That's how long had he been since I'd spoken to Dad, since I'd left our small town of Astoria, Oregon, after a fight that broke us apart. I'm Emma Carter, 32, a real estate developer who's made a name for herself in San Francisco. My work's been featured in Forbes, but none of that mattered as I stood there, staring at the rain, feeling like a piece of me had just vanished. Dad was gone. Robert Carter, the man who built Carter Realty from a single plot of land into a cornerstone of Astoria's economy. He taught me everything: how to spot a weak foundation, how to value land, not just for profit, but for people. We were a team, just him and me. After Mom died of heart disease when I was 10, I can still see us, sitting on the porch swing of our old Victorian house in Astoria, talking about his dream for the riverfront. One day, "Emma, this land will be a home for everyone, not just the rich," he'd say. His eyes bright with purpose. He'd given me a small compass when I was 8, saying it'd always guide me back home. I kept it in my pocket even now, a reminder of those days. Then Vivian came into our lives. She was beautiful, charming, and seemed to love Dad. I was 13 when they married, hopeful for a new family. Vivian brought her kids, Chloe, my age, and Noah, 2 years younger, for a while. It was okay, but slowly. Things shifted. My seat at the dinner table moved further from Dad. Our weekend trips to survey properties were replaced with Chloe's dance recitals or Noah's soccer games. Vivian redecorated the house, erasing every trace of Mom, her rose garden, her favorite armchair, even her photos. "You need to give them a chance." "Emma," Dad would say when I complained, "they're family now." By 16, I felt like a stranger in my own home. Vivian took my place at Dad's side in the business. Attending meetings I used to love, Noah suddenly wanted to learn real estate. And Dad was thrilled. I was pushed out, bit by bit. The final blow came when I was 20, working with Dad on a riverfront project, affordable homes, a community park, local shops. It was our vision. But Vivian convinced him to go upscale. Luxury condos for the elite. We have to be practical. "Emma," Dad said, echoing her words. I exploded. 5 years of being sidelined poured out. I accused him of choosing his new family over me, over our values. He called me stubborn, not ready for leadership. That night, I packed my bags, clutched my compass, and flew to San Francisco to prove I could make it on my own. And I did. I built a career crafting communities, not just buildings. My projects won awards for sustainability, for giving people homes they could afford. But the rift with Dad never healed. I called for months after leaving, but Vivian always answered, saying he was too busy or didn't want to talk. Eventually, I stopped trying, now standing in my office. The weight of those lost years hit me like a tidal wave. I had to go back to Astoria, not just for the funeral, but to face the family that had pushed me out. The flight to Oregon felt endless. When the taxi pulled up to our old house, memories flooded back. The porch swing where Dad and I dreamed big. The oak tree where we built a treehouse when I was 9. It all looked smaller now. worn by time. Vivian's sleek BMW sat in the driveway, a stark contrast to Dad's beat-up Chevy truck. I gripped my compass, took a deep breath, and rang the bell. Chloe opened the door, her face a mask of fake sympathy. "Emma," she said, "flat and cold. We didn't think you'd come." "He was my dad," I replied, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. She stepped aside, and I walked into a house that no longer felt like home. The house smelled different. Gone was the warm scent of Dad's old leather books and Mom's lavender candles. Now it was all sterile, sharp citrus cleaner and Vivian's expensive perfume. I stood in the foyer, suitcase in hand, feeling like an intruder. The walls gleamed with sleek chrome and glass, Vivian's ultra-modern touch erasing every trace of the cozy home I'd grown up in. Chloe led the way to the living room, her heels clicking on the polished floor. No offer to take my bag, no warmth in her eyes. Vivian sat on a white leather couch, surrounded by a few familiar faces from Astoria. Town council members, a banker, people Dad used to call friends. Her black dress was perfect, her ash blonde hair flawless, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Emma," she said, rising for a quick air kiss that felt colder than the rain outside. "We didn't expect you." "I tried to call," I said, keeping my voice even. "My number hasn't changed." Her lips twitched. But she didn't miss a beat. "We've been so busy with arrangements. The funeral's tomorrow at 2. Noah sprawled in an armchair, scrolling his phone, barely glancing up. "We've got everything handled," he said, his tone dripping with dismissal. "You don't need to worry." The message was clear. I wasn't wanted here. "Your old room's storage now," Vivian added, her voice sweet but sharp. "We've set up the guest room for you." I nodded, eager to escape the weight of their stares. "Thanks. I'll settle in." As I turned, Vivian called after me. "The estate lawyer, Henry Caldwell, will be here tomorrow morning. Family only. You understand?" Her words hung in the air like a challenge. I understood perfectly. They were shutting me out of Dad's will. I climbed the stairs, gripping my compass, its cool metal grounding me. The guest room was as cold as the rest of the house. Beige walls, stiff sheets, no trace of my past. I unpacked, my mind racing. 5 years ago, I'd left in anger. Now I was back, a stranger in my own home, grieving a father I hadn't spoken to since, later. I slipped out to the back porch, needing air. The old oak tree stood there, its branches heavy with memories. Dad and I built a treehouse in its shade when I was 9. I could still hear his laugh, see his hands guiding mine as we hammered nails. "That's it. Emma," he'd said, "build it strong, like you." I sat on the steps, the ache in my chest growing. Sarah found me there, her familiar red scarf bright against the gray dusk. "Emma," she said, sitting beside me, "I'm so sorry about your dad." Sarah had grown up next door, running her family's bakery now. She knew Astoria's pulse better than anyone. "They've been awful," she said, her voice low, "since your dad got sick. Vivian's acted like she owns this town. She's been meeting developers, planning to sell the riverfront land." My stomach twisted. The riverfront was Dad's dream. Affordable homes, a park for everyone, not some luxury playground. "Did Dad know?" I asked. Sarah nodded. "He asked about you all the time, kept your Forbes articles in his office." My throat tightened. "His office? Is it still there?" "Vivian cleared it out last week," Sarah said. "Boxed everything up. Changed the locks. Said it was for a new marketing team." I clenched my fists, anger mixing with grief. Vivian hadn't just pushed me out. She was erasing Dad's legacy. "Thanks for telling me," I said. Sarah squeezed my hand. "He was proud of you. Emma, don't let them make you forget that." Her words stayed with me as I headed back inside. The house quiet except for whispers from the hallway. We move forward with the riverfront sale once Henry reads the will. Vivian was saying to Noah, "Malcolm Reed's offer is solid." "What about Emma?" Noah asked, his voice skeptical. "Will she cause trouble?" Vivian laughed. "Sharp and cold. What can she do? She abandoned Robert. He left everything to us." I froze, my heart pounding. Abandoned. I'd called for months after leaving. Vivian always answered, saying Dad didn't want to talk. Her lies stung, but they also lit a fire in me. I wasn't here to lose. That night, sleep wouldn't come. I wandered the house, drawn to the library where Dad's old books still lined the shelves. My fingers brushed a worn copy of The Old Man and the Sea. His gift for my 16th birthday. I opened it, and his handwriting stared back at me, Emma. Patience and planning always win. An envelope slipped out, sealed, with my name in Dad's familiar scrawl. My hands shook as I opened it. "Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Vivian doesn't know about this letter or my plan. There's a safe deposit box at First Trust Bank, number 247. The keys taped behind the Storm at Sea painting in my office. I made mistakes. But I always had a plan for you. I'm proud of you. Kid, love, Dad." My pulse raced. The office was locked, just as Sarah said. But I knew this house. I knelt in the hallway, prying up a loose floorboard Dad used to hide spare keys. Some things never change. The key was there, cold and small. I slipped into the office. The room stripped bare. No books, no maps, just empty shelves. But the painting hung on the wall, its stormy waves glinting in the moonlight. I lifted it down, and there it was, a tiny key, taped to the frame, just as Dad promised. Tomorrow, I'd go to the bank. I'd find out what Dad had planned. Vivian thought she'd won. But she didn't know my father. He was always 3 steps ahead. The First Trust Bank opened at 8 sharp. I was there at 7:50, clutching the small key from Dad's office. My compass heavy in my pocket. The morning fog hung low over Astoria, blanketing the town in a hush that matched my racing heart. I hadn't slept. Dad's letter burned in my mind. His words, his apology, his plan. What had he hidden from Vivian? The bank teller, an older woman with kind eyes, led me to the vault. Safe deposit box 247. My hands shook as I unlocked it. Inside was a thick folder of legal documents and a USB drive labeled, "For Emma." I thanked the teller, found a quiet coffee shop nearby, and plugged the drive into my laptop. Dad's face filled the screen, thinner than I remembered, his eyes tired but sharp. "Emma, if you're watching this, I'm gone." His voice cracked, and so did something inside me. "I'm sorry, kid. I let Vivian come between us, and that's my biggest regret. But I never stopped planning for you." He leaned closer to the camera. "Over the last 3 years, I've transferred the key assets of Carter Realty to you, the riverfront land, the downtown commercial block, the Maple Street apartments, all through trusts, all legal, all yours. Vivian doesn't know. She thinks she's getting everything." My breath caught. Dad explained he'd worked with his old friend Walter Hayes to set up Carter Legacy Holdings, a new company with me as the sole owner. "Vivian's been pushing to sell the riverfront to Malcolm Reed," he said, his voice hard. "He builds cheap, overpriced junk. I couldn't let him ruin Astoria. You understand our vision. Emma, you'll protect it." Tears streamed down my face. All this time, I thought Dad chose Vivian over me, but he'd been watching my work in San Francisco, reading about my sustainable projects. "I'm proud of you," he said, his voice soft. "You took what I taught you and made it better." The video ended with a final plea. "Come home. Emma. Finish what we started." I sat there, stunned, the coffee shop's hum fading away. Dad hadn't abandoned me. He'd been fighting for me, even when I wasn't here. I called Walter Hayes, Dad's old business partner, and arranged to meet at his office downtown. Walter was a gruff man in his 60s, with a handshake like a vice and a smile that reminded me of Dad. "About time you showed up." "Emma," he said, pulling me into a bear hug. "Your dad was worried you'd never come back." We sat in his cluttered office, maps and property deeds pinned to the walls. Walter confirmed everything in the video: the riverfront, the downtown block, the apartments, all legally transferred to you years ago. He said, perfectly airtight. "Vivian's been making deals with Malcolm Reed, thinking she controls those assets. She's in for a shock." I fingered the property deeds in my briefcase. "What about the will reading?" I asked. Walter's eyes darkened. "Henry Caldwell's been Vivian's lapdog for years. Your dad kept him as the family lawyer to avoid suspicion, but he didn't trust him with the real plan. Henry set the reading for this afternoon, and Vivian's made it clear you're not welcome." I smiled, feeling Dad's cunning spark in me. "Oh, I'm going anyway." Walter grinned, a glint in his eye. "That's the Emma your dad raised. He'd love this." Before leaving, I stopped by Carter Realty's headquarters to see Jane Mitchell, Dad's executive assistant for 20 years. She was at her desk, surrounded by old photos of Dad and me, one from when I was 12. Grinning next to him at a groundbreaking ceremony. "Emma Carter," she said, her voice warm as she hugged me. "I was hoping you'd come." She handed me a second USB drive, her expression serious. "Your dad made me promise to give this to you in person. He didn't trust anyone else." I asked about the company's state. Jane's face fell. "Vivian's been running things into the ground. Cost cuts, layoffs, deferred maintenance. She's redesigned the riverfront project. No more affordable housing. Just luxury condos and high-end shops. Malcolm Reed's set to start construction next month." My blood boiled. That wasn't Dad's vision. Jane nodded. "She's been stripping the company for quick cash. If you hadn't come back when you did..." She didn't finish the sentence. But I knew. Vivian was dismantling everything Dad built. I found a quiet park bench to view the second USB. It held more videos. Dad walking through Astoria's properties, his voice steady despite his illness. In one, he stood on the riverfront land, the Columbia River sparkling behind him. "This project is my heart. Emma," he said, "a place for everyone. Families, workers, dreamers, not just the wealthy. Vivian doesn't get that. I transferred this land to you because you'll do it right." In another video, filmed in his office, he looked exhausted but resolute. "I've watched your work. Emma, your sustainable projects in San Francisco, your community centers. You were right about the riverfront. I was wrong to let Vivian sway me." My chest ached. He'd seen my work. He'd believed in me. The final video was the hardest. "I should fought harder to keep you close," he said, his eyes wet. "Vivian lied. Told me you didn't want to talk. I was weak. Emma, but I'm making it right now." He explained how Malcolm Reed had been circling Carter Realty for years, ever since Dad outbid him on a major deal a decade ago. "Malcolm's working with Vivian now. Don't let them win." I closed my laptop, resolve hardening inside me. Dad had given me everything, not just deeds, but the truth. I met with James Patterson, Dad's accountant, in his small office near the courthouse. James greeted me cautiously, closing the door tight. "Your dad left instructions to help you when you returned." He said he showed me charts detailing Carter Legacy Holdings. The company's a shell on paper. He explained, "Vivian thinks she's inheriting Carter Realty, but the real assets, the land, the buildings, are yours." Dad was fair to Vivian, though the house, investment accounts, some income properties, she won't be broke. Just not in control. By noon, I'd verified the deeds, the transfers, everything. Dad's plan was bulletproof. The will reading was at 2. Vivian and her kids thought they'd erased me from Dad's legacy. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I slipped my compass into my pocket, its weight a reminder of Dad's faith in me. Time to face the family that tried to break us. Henry Caldwell's law office sat atop Astoria's tallest building, a modest 4-story structure overlooking the Columbia River. I arrived 5 minutes early, my briefcase heavy with Dad's deeds and the USB drives, my charcoal gray suit, paired with Mom's silver ring on my finger. Felt like armor. The compass in my pocket grounded me, a reminder of Dad's faith. This was it. The moment Vivian and her kids thought they'd bury me, they were wrong. The receptionist's eyes widened when I gave my name. Miss Carter. She stammered, "Let me check with Mr. Caldwell." She scurried off, returning with Henry, his face pinched with unease. "Emma," he said, no handshake offered. "This is unexpected. Today's meeting is for family only." "I'm Dad's only blood relative," I replied, my voice calm but firm. His discomfort was palpable. Vivian felt. "Given your estrangement, we could arrange a separate discussion." I cut him off. "I'm here for the will reading. Let's go." Without waiting, I strode toward the conference room, hearing voices within. Henry hurried after me, his footsteps unsteady. I pushed open the door, and the room fell silent. Vivian sat at the head of the long oak table, dressed in elegant black, her ash-blonde hair a perfect frame for her icy composure. Chloe and Noah flanked her, their faces a mix of boredom and disdain. A few others were present. Dad's banker, a cousin of Vivian's who'd never liked me, and a man I recognized as Malcolm Reed's lawyer. Vivian recovered first. "Emma," she said, her voice dripping with false surprise. "This is a private matter." I took the seat across from her, setting my briefcase down with a deliberate thud. "I'm here for my father's will." I said, "Let's get started." Henry hovered at the door, flustered. "Vivian." I wasn't aware Emma would be joining us. Vivian's eyes narrowed, her mask slipping. "This meeting is for heirs only," she said coldly. "Emma walked away from this family years ago." I said nothing, just opened my briefcase and pulled out a folder of documents. Henry cleared his throat, taking his seat. "We're here to read Robert Carter's last will and testament," he began, his voice shaky as he launched into the legal preamble. I studied the faces around me. Vivian maintained a grieving widow's poise, dabbing dry eyes with a silk handkerchief. Noah checked his watch. Bored, Chloe's eyes were red-rimmed, the only sign of real emotion. Henry read on. To my wife. "Vivian, I leave our home at 247 Maple Avenue. Its contents. And $2 million. Vivian nodded, unsurprised, as if it was the least she deserved. To my stepdaughter, Chloe, I leave $1 million and my collection of rare books. Chloe blinked, startled by the books. Dad's prized collection, built over decades. I was surprised too. That wasn't what he'd planned with me. To my stepson, Noah, I leave $1 million and my vintage car collection. Henry continued. Noah smirked. Dad's 1965 Mustang alone was worth a fortune. And to my business interests, Carter Realty and all associated assets. I leave to... Vivian leaned forward, a triumphant glint in her eye. My daughter, Emma Carter. The room went dead silent. Then Vivian laughed. A sharp, brittle sound. That's impossible, she said. Robert changed his will 2 years ago. I was there. Henry shifted uncomfortably. A codicil was filed 6 months ago. He admitted. It reversed the earlier changes. Vivian's face flushed red. You never told me, she snapped. Henry shrank in his seat. I wasn't aware until yesterday. Richard filed it directly with the court. It doesn't matter, Vivian said, waving a hand. Carter Realty's assets are what count, and I've been running the company. The board won't accept Emma after she abandoned her father. This was my moment. I slid the property deeds across the table, their edges crisp against the polished wood. These are the deeds to the riverfront development, the downtown commercial block, the Maple Street apartments, and 12 other properties, I said, my voice steady. They're all in my name. Have been for years. Vivian snatched the papers, her hands trembling as she flipped through them. These are fakes, she hissed. They're not. I said, Dad transferred them to me legally over the last 3 years. Check with the county recorder. You mean the properties I already own, I added, letting a hint of Dad's flair creep into my voice. Noah jumped up, his chair scraping. You can't just waltz in after 5 years and take everything. I stayed calm. I'm not taking anything. I'm claiming what Dad gave me, what he wanted me to have. Vivian's face drained of color. Henry, is this legal? She demanded. Henry, now studying the deeds, nodded reluctantly. If Robert transferred these during his lifetime, they're not part of the estate. What about Carter Realty? Vivian pressed, her voice rising. The will says Emma gets the company. Henry looked miserable. The company's value lies in the properties. He said, if they're already Emma's. Carter Realty is just a shell. I finished for him. Dad also created Carter Legacy Holdings last year, transferring control of all these assets to it. I'm the sole owner. The room erupted. Noah shouted about contesting the will. Vivian threatened to sue everyone, including Henry. Chloe sat frozen. Her eyes locked on me. When the chaos settled, I spoke, my voice quiet but firm. Dad left you secure. Vivian, the house, millions, some income properties. He wasn't cruel. But he built Carter Realty from nothing, and he wanted it protected. He knew you'd sell it off to Malcolm Reed. Vivian's eyes blazed. I was his wife. I cared for him while you were off playing developer in San Francisco. I leaned forward. I tried to come back. I called for months. You told me he didn't want to talk. A flicker of guilt crossed Vivian's face. Quickly masked. He was disappointed in you. She said, then why did he leave me everything that mattered? I asked. Why did he spend his final years planning to ensure I'd carry on his work? Chloe spoke for the first time, her voice small. Is it true? Mom, did you keep Emma from talking to Robert? Vivian's silence was deafening. I tapped my briefcase. Dad was thorough. He left videos, his decisions, his reasons, his hopes for Astoria. He knew your plans, Vivian, the deal with Malcolm Reed, the luxury condos, all of it. Vivian's voice rose. Panicked. What videos? I stood, gathering my documents. He documented everything. Henry cleared his throat. Perhaps we should adjourn. This is a lot to process, and legal questions may arise. I nodded. My attorneys will handle the transition of Carter Realty's operations. No business decisions should be made without my approval. As I turned to leave, Vivian called out, her voice venomous. This isn't over. Emma. Robert wasn't himself at the end. Well, contest everything. I paused at the door. You can try. Vivian. But Dad didn't just leave me property. He left me the truth. Are you sure you want that public? Her silence followed me out. My heart pounding, but lighter than it had been in years. I'd honored Dad's wishes. Now the real fight began, rebuilding his legacy and stopping Vivian's schemes for good. Astoria buzzed with gossip the morning after the will reading. News spread faster than wildfire in a small town. By the time I stopped at Seaside Cafe for coffee, I'd gotten curious glances and a few knowing nods from old-timers who'd respected Dad. Your dad would be proud. Emma, said the barista, sliding me a free cinnamon roll. I thanked him and took a seat by the window, watching Main Street wake up. The familiar shops, the courthouse square. Astoria hadn't changed much in 5 years, but I had, and so had the fight for Dad's legacy. Sarah slid into the seat across from me, stealing a bite of my roll. You're the talk of the town, she said, her eyes sparkling. Vivian's telling everyone you tricked your dad in his final days. She's vowing to drag you to court. Let her try. I said, Dad's videos and deeds are ironclad. Sarah's face turned serious. Be careful. Emma, Vivian's got friends in high places, And Malcolm Reed's furious about losing the riverfront deal. I nodded, the weight of their scheme settling in. This wasn't over. Back at Carter Realty, I met with key staff to assess Vivian's damage. Jane Mitchell, Dad's loyal assistant, had organized files showing the grim truth: drained cash reserves, neglected maintenance, land parcels prepped for quick sales. Vivian was gutting the company. Jane said bluntly, a few more months, and there'd be nothing left. Most employees were relieved to see me, tired of Vivian's threats to fire them. But a few, loyal to her, gave me cold stares. I reassured everyone their jobs were safe. We're rebuilding Dad's vision. I told them, starting with the riverfront. That evening, I returned to Vivian's house, legally hers now, though I was still in the guest room until I found my own place. The air was frigid. Vivian stayed locked in her suite, emerging only to glare at me in the hallway. Noah slammed doors, muttering threats under his breath. But Chloe surprised me, knocking softly on my door after dinner. "Can we talk?" she asked. Her voice hesitant. She looked uneasy, clutching a small notebook. I invited her in, curious but cautious. Chloe sat on the edge of a chair, avoiding my eyes. "I owe you an apology," she said, "for how we treated you. For Dad. I mean, Robert." She corrected herself, her cheeks flushing. "He was always your dad more than ours. Noah faked interest in the business for Mom's sake. I just wanted a family." Her honesty caught me off guard. When Mom married Robert, I thought we'd all be close, but she kept pushing Noah forward, shutting you out. It felt wrong, but I didn't stop her. "Why tell me now?" I asked, still wary. Chloe handed me the notebook. "I found this in Robert's things." She said, "Mom packed them away." But I looked after the will reading. I wanted to know what he really thought. It was Dad's journal, filled with his blunt handwriting, pages of regret about our estrangement, worries about Vivian's influence, notes on her secret meetings with Malcolm Reed. He wasn't happy. Chloe said quietly, "He missed you. He saw through Mom's plans." I flipped through the journal, my throat tight. One entry stood out. Vivian lied about Emma not calling. I failed my girl. "But I'll make it right." I looked at Chloe. "Does your mom know you have this?" She shook her head. "Should lose it. But you deserve to know the truth." Before I could respond, shouting erupted downstairs. I followed Chloe to the foyer, where Vivian and Noah argued with a woman I didn't know. She was in her late 30s, with Dad's hazel eyes and a calm presence. "You have no right to be here," Vivian snapped. "Robert never acknowledged you." The woman turned to me, unfazed. "You must be Emma," she said, extending a hand. "I'm Lily Thornton. Robert was my father too." My jaw dropped. "A half-sister I never knew." "That's a lie." Vivian spat. A desperate grab for money. Lily shook her head. "I don't want money. I came to pay respects and meet my sister." I took her hand, seeing Dad in her steady gaze. "We need to talk," I said. Vivian made a disgusted sound. "I won't stand for this farce. Come, Noah." She stormed out, Noah trailing her. Chloe hesitated, then slipped away, leaving me with Lily. She smiled faintly. "Not the welcome I expected. Nothing this week has gone as planned," I said, managing a laugh. "Let's sit." We moved to the living room, and Lily shared her story. Her mother had a brief relationship with Dad before he met Mom. Lily learned he was her father as an adult, and Dad welcomed her privately, respecting her wish for secrecy. "He talked about you constantly," she said. "Your work in San Francisco, your awards. He was so proud." Her words hit me hard. Grief for the years lost. Gratitude for Dad's quiet love. Lily was a professor in Colorado, focused on environmental science. She didn't want Carter Realty. But her ideas about sustainable design sparked something in me. "Dad would have loved that," I said. Thinking of the riverfront, we talked late, a new bond forming, but trouble loomed. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Malcolm Reed. We need to talk. You're in over your head." I stared at the message, my resolve steeling. Vivian, Malcolm, and their allies wouldn't stop. The fight for Astoria was just beginning. The next day, Jane called with urgent news. She'd found an email in Dad's old files. Proof Malcolm had bribed 3 town council members to block my riverfront plans. He'd been funding Vivian's smear campaign too, spreading lies about me manipulating Dad. I contacted a local reporter, a friend of Sarah's, who agreed to investigate. Vivian's influence was strong, but the truth was stronger. I gripped my compass, feeling Dad's presence. He'd given me the tools to fight. Now it was my move. The town council meeting was packed, the air thick with anticipation. Astoria's community center buzzed with residents, their murmurs echoing off the wooden rafters. I stood at the podium, my briefcase holding Dad's deeds, journal, and a laptop with his videos. My compass rested in my pocket, its weight steadying me. Tonight wasn't just about the riverfront. It was about Dad's legacy and Astoria's soul. Across the room, Malcolm Reed sat with his slick lawyer, his glossy presentation ready. Vivian was absent, but her influence lingered in the skeptical faces of a few council members. This was my chance to set things right. I began with Dad's vision. "The riverfront development," I said, my voice clear, "will bring affordable housing, a community park, and spaces for local businesses. It's what my father wanted, a place for everyone, not just the wealthy." I showed slides of the plan, with green spaces and family-friendly homes, inspired by Lily's sustainable designs. The crowd leaned in, nodding. Then I dropped the bombshell. "Malcolm Reed has other plans." I said, "Luxury condos, high-end shops, no public access, and he's been bribing council members to make it happen." Gasps rippled through the room. I projected an email from Dad's files, uncovered by Jane, proof Malcolm paid 3 council members to block my proposal. The reporter I'd tipped off, Sarah's friend, was in the crowd, scribbling furiously. Malcolm's face reddened, but he stayed silent. I played a clip of Dad's video, his voice filling the room. "The riverfront is for Astoria's people," he said, "standing by the Columbia River, not for outsiders like Malcolm Reed, who only care about profit." An older man in the audience, a former employee of Dad's, stood up. "Robert wanted this town to thrive for all of us," he said. "Emma's plan honors that." Applause erupted. Malcolm took the podium next, his charm forced. "My project will bring tax revenue," he argued, showing renderings of sleek towers. But when a young mother asked about affordable housing, he stumbled. Sarah stood up, her voice fierce. "The Carter Plan keeps Astoria's heart," she said. "Malcolm's turns us into a rich man's playground." The crowd cheered. The council voted unanimously for my plan, a crushing blow to Malcolm and Vivian's schemes. As I left the podium, Malcolm approached, his jaw tight. "You won this round." "Carter," he said, "but I'm not done." I met his gaze. "There's room for you in my plan." "Malcolm, if you play fair." He scoffed but didn't reply. His confidence shaken, the victory was sweet. But Vivian wasn't finished. 2 days later, her lawyer called, requesting a meeting. "Be careful." Walter Hayes warned, "Vivian doesn't back down unless she's got an angle." I agreed to meet at her attorney's office, with Sarah waiting in the lobby for moral support. Vivian looked polished but strained, her perfect facade cracking. Her lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman, slid a document across the table. "Mrs. Carter offers to drop all legal claims against the estate in exchange for control of the riverfront project," she said. I nearly laughed. "That's not a deal." I said, "It's a robbery." Vivian leaned forward, her voice low. "The riverfront was my idea. Emma, I worked with Robert on it for years. It's my vision. I shook my head. Dad's vision was homes for everyone, not your luxury condos. I pulled out my phone and played a video of Dad, filmed on the riverfront. Vivian doesn't understand Astoria's needs. He said, she wants status, not community. Vivian's face paled. He was sick, she said, her voice trembling, confused. I raised an eyebrow. Sick enough to transfer his assets to me legally, sick enough to document why. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. The meeting ended with Vivian storming out, her lawyer promising more legal threats. But no lawsuit came. Walter's sources said her attorneys warned her the case was hopeless. Dad's journal and videos would bury her. Chloe became an unexpected ally. She moved out of Vivian's house, renting a small apartment downtown, over coffee at Seaside Cafe. She shared insights into her mother's deals, Mom selling her jewelry, her art, even her designer clothes. Chloe said, stirring her latte, she's planning to leave Astoria. I nodded, unsurprised. Chloe hesitated, then added, I want to help with the riverfront. I love this town. Emma, I don't want it ruined. I studied her, seeing sincerity. Okay, I said, join the marketing team. Let's make Dad proud. Her smile was small but real, a bridge between us forming. Lily, my half-sister, was a revelation. We met often. Her environmental expertise shaping the riverfront's green spaces, solar panels, rain gardens, public trails, over dinner at a local seafood shack. She shared more about Dad. He funded my college anonymously, she said, her eyes soft. Never wanted credit, just wanted to help. I gripped my compass, thinking of Dad's quiet generosity. He'd have loved your ideas. I told her. She grinned. Let's make the riverfront his legacy, and ours. Our bond grew. A new family forged from his memory. Malcolm Reed's campaign against me faltered as residents rallied behind the Carter plan. But he wasn't out yet. At a Chamber of Commerce event, he cornered me. You're naive. Carter, he said, Astoria can't survive on idealism. I smiled. Unfazed. Dad proved it could. You can join us or keep losing. To my surprise, he later sent a proposal, offering to build part of the project under my terms. It wasn't friendship, but it was progress. Dad always said good business means doing good. Vivian's final move came unexpectedly, not in a courtroom but in the garden behind her house. I'd gone to grab my last belongings, ready for my new apartment. She sat on a bench near Mom's rose bushes, looking smaller, older. I'm leaving Astoria, she said, her voice flat. There's nothing left for me. I sat beside her, keeping distance. Where to? I asked. Chicago. She said, my sister's there. She glanced at me. You've taken everything. The company, the town, even Chloe. Was it worth it? I thought of Dad's videos, Lily's stories, Chloe's apology. It wasn't about winning. I said, it was about honoring Dad, about Astoria. Vivian was quiet. He pulled away after you left. She said, I thought controlling the business would bring us closer, but it drove me to greed. Her candor stunned me. Dad left you enough to start over. I said, you didn't need to fight for more. She stood, her posture rigid. I've told my lawyer to drop all objections to the will. She said, in return, honor what Robert left me and my kids. I nodded. I always planned to. She walked away. A chapter closing the next week. I launched the Riverfront project at Carter Realty's headquarters. The team, including Chloe, gathered in the conference room. Their faces eager. Dad said property is permanence. I told them, let's build something Astoria will cherish for generations. As we broke up, Sarah approached, smiling. Your dad would be proud. Emma, she said. I touched my compass, feeling him with me. I think he is. I said, and we're just getting started. 1 year later. I stood on the observation deck of Astoria's riverfront, the Columbia River glinting under the setting sun. What was once empty land now hummed with life. Construction cranes lifted beams for affordable homes. Workers laid paths for a community park, and the foundation of a local business hub took shape. At the park's entrance, a bronze plaque gleamed Robert Carter Memorial Park. I touched my compass, its worn edges warm in my hand, and felt Dad's presence. He'd have loved this. The past year had changed everything. Taking over Carter Realty forced me to put down roots in Astoria, to see myself not just as a developer but as part of this town. I'd fought for Dad's legacy, but I'd gained so much more: a family, a purpose, a home. Chloe had become a key ally, her marketing campaign for the riverfront drawing national attention. She had designed posters with Dad's words, "Property is permanence. Build for the future," over coffee last week. Shed smiled. "A real one. I'm glad we're doing this together." "Emma," she said. I nodded, grateful for the sister I never expected. Lily, my half-sister, moved to Astoria 6 months ago, heading the Richard Carter Foundation. Her program offered scholarships for students studying sustainable development. A nod to Dad's quiet generosity. She joined me on the deck, her tablet glowing with news. "We funded 15 scholarships this year," she said, "and the internship program starts next month." I grinned. Dad would have been over the moon. Lily shared stories of Dad had never known, his anonymous donations to local schools, his mentorship of young entrepreneurs. He never wanted fame. She said, "just to make things better." Her words echoed in me, shaping my work. Sarah had been my rock, our friendship deepening into something more. Last month, I proposed on this very deck, the ring I'd carried for weeks finally on her finger. She said yes, her laugh brighter than the river's shimmer. Tonight, we'd celebrate at Seaside Cafe, where it all began. The thought warmed me, a promise of new beginnings. Carter Realty was thriving, but challenges remained. Malcolm Reed still pushed his agenda, lobbying against our affordable housing expansions, but Chloe's savvy, learned from watching Vivian, helped us outmaneuver him. At a recent council meeting, Shed organized residents to share stories of how the riverfront homes changed their lives. Malcolm's arguments crumbled. He'd since scaled back, focusing on smaller projects. I'd offered him a role in the riverfront, believing Dad's mantra, "do well by doing good." Time would tell if he'd take it. Vivian was gone, living in Chicago, remarried to a banker. Chloe said she'd joined an art gallery board, reinventing herself as a philanthropist. I held no grudge. Vivian acted out of fear, shaped by a past I'd never fully know. Dad's journal had shown me his complexity too. Strategic, far-sighted, but human. With regrets had worked to mend. I'd restored his old office, hanging the Storm at Sea painting and adding photos of him. Mom, Lily, Chloe, Sarah, and me. On the desk sat a framed note from his journal, "Property is permanence, but legacy is people." The riverfront's first phase opened next month, with a festival to celebrate, Astoria's Seafood Bash. A nod to our roots. I'd placed a bench in the park, engraved with Dad and Mom's names, a quiet tribute. Standing here, I thought of that rainy day in San Francisco when I'd learned Dad was gone. I'd come back angry, ready to claim what was mine. But the fight had transformed me. It wasn't just about deeds or justice. It was about building something lasting. For Astoria, for Dad, for myself. This journey taught me that legacy isn't money or land. It's the values we carry forward. Dad gave me his vision, his trust, his truth. He made mistakes, but he made them right. I hope this story inspires you to fight for what matters. Your family, your community, your heart. What's your story? Have you ever stood up for what's yours or rebuilt something broken? Share it in the comments. If this tale of justice and family moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more true stories. Thanks for listening. Legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you build for those who come next.